Hello and welcome to Lorina Landia. Today I'd like to talk about healing and what is healing. Because I think there is like a misconception that healing is to reach a point where you won't feel any pain, where you won't feel any sadness, where you won't feel any anger, where you won't feel heavy emotions. I think if we don't know what healing really is, and if we don't have yet begun that journey to understand what is really all about, I think we can go into this journey by thinking that I'm doing this for someday I'll not feel like the pain that I'm feeling. For someday I won't feel the heavy emotions that I'm bearing. The thing is, healing is not about denying the emotions. Healing is about supporting your emotions. Healing is not about reaching a point where you won't feel it, because at the end of the day, that's one, impossible, two, unhealthy, because emotions are a part of the human experience and emotions are important for you to move through the world, and is also a way to gain information, grow and evolve, and again is a necessary part of human existence and human experience. And you will never reach a point where you won't feel emotions, right? Because also for you to feel like the happy moments, for you to feel joy, you need to experience the heavier moments like the sadness and all of that. Healing is about knowing how to be in the heavy emotions. Healing is about supporting yourself through the hard times. Basically, it's all about being in heavy emotions and being okay in not being okay, being there for yourself in the heaviest periods of your life. And how this works is kind of, you learn how to be in your emotions, and the more you learn how to be in them, the easier it gets. However, this does not mean that the emotions get lighter. When you start your healing journey, our psychological works through safety. So basically, we create more safety that allow us to go deeper into our emotion, that allows us to go to this deeper state of self and allow us to get to know ourselves deeply and heal deeply. So at the beginning, the emotions that you're going to heal, and what I mean by heal is the emotions that you're going to sit with and feel, they are kind of surface level emotions. However, they feel really powerful. They feel really intense. They are hard to bear. They are hard to feel and hard to carry. And this is because we have not yet the tools of knowing how to be in your emotions. Healing is about gathering the tools for you to be able to move through heavy emotions, and is also about creating psychological safety. So when you start the healing journey, and imagine you don't know how to feel, let's start with that example. Maybe you have been escaping your emotions, and probably you've been escaping your emotions because you have not yet felt safe. Safety is the number one step to healing. Sometimes, if we are like in a toxic environment, we need, an important step is to separate ourselves from that environment. It can be physically, but it also can be mentally, with boundaries as well. That's saying that you cannot heal in the environment that hurt you. It is right, because you first need to feel safe within yourself and your environment to even begin the process of sitting with your emotions. If you are in an environment that caused you those heavy emotions. And if you are incapable to create a sense of safety in it, for example, if you are with people that don't respect your boundaries, if you are unable or if people are unable to understand and communicate with you for you to feel safe, an important step to healing is to get out of that environment. I think sometimes this can be a bit hard. I think the first step is the hardest, that is to create safety, because sometimes we are used to and we are comfortable in these type of environments because it's what we know, is what we expect. And sometimes what we know, what we expect, and what we feel comfortable with is not the healthiest for us. So really the first step is psychological separation. This again can be through boundaries, communication, and if that doesn't work, I think through physical distance. You cannot start healing if you are still going through the experiences that are causing you that pain. First, you need to create this sense of psychological safety. That's why it also takes a lot of years to process trauma. When something really traumatic happens to you, it might take like several years for you to begin to think about it, because you need that psychological safety. And you create psychological safety by separation of that experience that caused you that pain. Again, can be through boundaries and communication, and if it's not effective, it might need to be through physical separation, that I think a lot of the times it is, right? So first you separate from the environment that hurt you, and then you slowly start to build psychological safety. And you start to build psychological safety by slowly tapping into your body. This is a process that is mostly unconscious. Like at the beginning, like the first step that you need to take is separation, and then your body and your mind will slowly start to feel like slowly safer by every day, because you are no longer being hurt. So your body can slowly start to process what happened. And again, like if you don't have psychological safety, you might have escaped a lot of your emotions to deal with what was happening to you. This was a coping mechanism, and there's nothing to be ashamed for. It's very normal. And if you don't have psychological safety, that's you're gonna do. You're gonna escape, because if you are in an environment that hurts you and you cannot escape from it through boundaries, communication, or physical separation, and you have to be in it and endure what is happening to you, your best coping mechanism will be to escape your emotions, because again, it's all about separation. If you cannot separate through boundaries, communication, or physical separation, your mind is going to separate from your emotions. Basically, you are going to escape your emotions, because it's a coping mechanism that is normal. It is meant to protect you, and in a lot of times it's safe, because if you are in that environment that is hurting you and you don't have that separation, it is very hard to deal with everything at once. Basically, it's very hard for you to go through like traumatic experiences and feel it all in the moment. Like your body, your mind cannot handle all of that, so it uses this sense of escapism from your emotions. And you can escape from your emotions in many ways. Usually if you go through trauma, probably also are in an environment that invalidates your emotions, so basically says to you that like, or you're crazy, you are too sensitive, you are too weak, or a bunch of excuses to say that like it's your fault that you're feeling those emotions. So probably there is a lot of background here of also invalidating emotions. So most likely you also invalidate emotions, but there are also a lot of form of escapisms, like unable to be alone is also a form of escapism, escaping yourself and escaping your emotions, like always having maybe like a romantic relationship, always having a group of friends. And I'm not saying that these things are bad per se, because they are not. However, I think sometimes we can use people and social interactions to escape our own self, to escape sitting with ourselves and feeling all the emotions that come with it. I think, of course, you also have the other forms, the escapisms that are most, I don't want to say known, but like most recognized as form of escapisms, like, I don't know, partying, alcohol abuse, substance abuse, all of that. That is also a big part of escapism. That's usually the ones that we most recognize as a form of escape. And again, this is nothing to be ashamed for. It's totally normal, especially if you are still in that traumatic situation, if you like your boundaries are not being met, if people are unwilling to reciprocate your communication, and if you are incapable to physically move, because that's a big step in of itself, and that's hard to do, and it takes a lot of one, resources, uh, and two, it takes a lot of courage to leave something behind, especially if it's relating to something that will always be in your life, like family, like a relationship that has been there for a long time. This can be a really hard step to do. And this will take time to do. And that's normal, and there is no shame in that. But imagine you reach a point that you start gaining psychological safety. This can be because maybe you are separated, maybe like you communicate less with them, maybe you keep more to yourself. So those people don't affect you as much because they are not like updated in your life, because you're putting those boundaries there. Wherever is the case, you start creating psychological safety, and it starts little by little without you noticing. Without you noticing, you are slowly tapping into your emotions. And healing is about when you feel safe, and there is no rush in feeling safe. Like your body will tell you, your mind will tell you, there is no rush, there is no pressure, and there is no shame. When you feel safe enough in your body, and safe enough in your body means feeling safe to feel emotions. Maybe you are not living in survival as much anymore. Maybe finally you have been separated for a while from this situation, and you can start the process of tapping into your emotions. Healing is about feeling those emotions and supporting, loving, and accepting yourself through feeling all of those heavy emotions. At the beginning, you probably don't know how to do this, and that's normal, because the way that we interact with our emotions is the way that we were taught to interact. So basically, the way that people, especially in childhood, interacted with our emotions is the way that we're going to interact with them. So probably there will be a lot of shame at the beginning, a lot of guilt, a lot of I could have done differently, I should have done this, I should have done that. And that's normal. Healing is about reconstructing those belief systems about around emotions and being there unconditionally in your emotions. What does it look like to be there for your emotions? It's like you feel a strong emotion, you are triggered, you are sad, you are angry, and you're feeling this intense emotion. What healing looks like is feeling the emotion in your body and supporting yourself through it, taking time to feel that emotion, expressing that emotion, loving yourself through feeling that emotion. And love as many forms. It can be words of affirmation, saying to yourself that you are loved, you are safe, you're taken care of, that you accept yourself unconditionally, that you love yourself unconditionally in all stages. It can be through physical touch. I think that's a very good One, if you are prone to dissociating, giving yourself a slow hug, caressing yourself, I think is very good if you are experiencing like a very strong emotion that you want to dissociate from. I think connecting with your body and giving yourself that love is also very good. Another form of love is like giving yourself a safe, cozy space for you to feel that emotion, having a blanket. Another way that I think is very good is to express the emotion in an artistic way. Like, I don't know, maybe you like to play a song, maybe you like to draw, maybe you like to sing. Expressing it in a artistic way, I think is very helpful, especially in emotions that are hard to bear, that are hard to feel. And the more you do this, the more you get used to feeling hard emotions, and the more you get used to feeling these intense emotions, because these triggers, these emotions will never disappear. You just create habits around you that allow you to feel them. Usually, what happens is that the more you love a specific emotion, basically when you have that emotion again, when you have that trigger, like you see something, you are triggered, something to you, like it triggers you something from the past, it will always do that. You will never not have the triggers, but how you react and how you respond to it is different. Before healing, what looks like responding to a trigger is a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of avoidance, a lot of rejection. Basically is has everything to do with not sitting with your emotions. Healing, what healing looks like is when you have the trigger, you take time to feel that emotion, you take time to love yourself, you take time to support yourself and be there for yourself. And these tools of being there for yourself, supporting yourself, loving yourself for feeling emotion creates even more psychological safety. And what happens here is that you start actually with quote unquote more surface level emotions, but they feel really powerful because you don't know how to be in them, and that's okay. The more you learn how to be in your emotions, the deeper you go into your psyche, the deeper you go into basically your trauma, your art experiences, and the more you are tapping into more powerful emotions. But in contrast, because you already know how to be in your emotions, it feels less powerful. It's basically maybe like at the beginning of your healing journey, you were insecure, I don't know, okay, be about your body. And that will be like super hard for you to feel. And that will be like very hard for you to sit in, and you start gaining the psychological safety, you start being there for yourself, so you start feeling the emotions of being okay in feeling insecure in your body, for example. And then later on, when you have more psychological safety, you have more tools, you know what healing looks like and feels like, and you have the tools to be there for yourself. You go into deeper stuff, or for example, you don't feel safe in your body. Maybe you had some trauma relating with physical safety, and that emotion, for example, that trigger of you don't feel safe in your body, that's like supposedly is more intense than feeling insecure in your body, even though that those are very similar. I think being insecure in your body is also like the deeper meaning behind it is like almost physical safety and being okay in being in your body, even though that feeling safe in your body is like a more profound and more impactful emotion. When you reach that point of feeling that emotion, it doesn't feel as sad. It doesn't feel as impactful, even though it is, because you already have all of these tools because you already have way more psychological safety than you had before. And that's the reason why you're tapping into like deeper emotions. The sadness doesn't feel so sad, basically, because the process of healing never stops. And it actually gets deeper and more profound, and you actually go to more existential type issues. You go like to the core of the issue, and you go to like this big, almost collective experiences and trauma. But when you reach that point, like the more along in the healing you go through, the deeper the meaning is, but the less you feel. It really, the hardest part is the beginning. The hardest part is learning how to be there for yourself, is learning how to accept yourself for those emotions. It is loving yourself for your emotions. It is slowly getting out of that survival mode and slowly building psychological safety. You never stop feeling emotions. However, you're going to reach a point where those emotions don't feel as quote unquote bad as they did before. They don't feel as impactful. They don't feel as powerful, even though you are dealing with deeper issues, even though you are going to the core and to the roots of your emotional pain. Healing only gets deeper, but it also only gets easier. And basically, that is healing in of itself, because you will never stop feeling and you don't want to stop feeling. Stop feeling is actually a coping mechanism to survive, is the escapism, is the avoidance. Healing is actually quite the opposite. Healing is tapping into your emotions more, tapping into your feelings more, but with a higher degree of psychological safety, which basically allows you to flow with your feelings easier. They are not as intense, even though that they are more profound. They are not as intense. They are not as ruining your day. They are not like it's the end of the world. You reach a point that you can feel and quote unquote struggle. It's not even a struggle at some point. You can feel like really profound emotional pain, but because you have all the tools, it doesn't feel as end of the world type situation. It doesn't feel as intense because you know that you are there for yourself. You know how to be there for yourself. And you also, you know that everything is going to be okay at the end of the day. The more you heal, the more you realize that emotions are just momentary. You just gotta learn and how to flow with them without shame, with full acceptance and love, without judgment, and just learning how to be there in all stages of life through everything you are, because you deserve unconditional love and unconditional support, and it starts within you. You are the one that starts giving it to yourself. In conclusion, healing is not about escaping emotion, it's not about stop feeling them. That is actually a coping mechanism of being in survival. Healing is the capacity to tap in into your emotions with more psychological safety. And you do this by slowly tapping into your body, slowly tapping into your emotions, slowly building psychological safety. Let me know down in the comments if you agree with this. If you like this video, give it a like. And if you like this content, subscribe. Bye.